when you see something through your neighbor's window. I just returned from bartending, so it was like 3 a.m. My apartment was dark except for the overhead light in the kitchen. I just flipped it on after walking in, and all the windows across the courtyard from mine were dark too, except for one. I went to my window for a closer look. There's a pretty girl who lives in that part of the building, and I wasn't watching her or anything, but I could see her there, sitting in her own mostly darkened apartment, lit only by the bluish light from her laptop screen. She was up working late, I guess. Anyway, I didn't want to be a creep, so I'd started to turn away, but I saw her move suddenly. She looked over her shoulder, then turned back to her screen. I didn't understand why at first. I thought maybe someone said something to her, but it didn't look like there was anyone else in the apartment with her, though it was hard to tell in the dark. She looked again, then she got up. Her apartment is the same as mine. We live in a big U-shaped building, and we both have the same large windows across the entire back of the room, so I could see her clearly as she walked all the way across her apartment and then stopped, just staring at the far wall. I glanced instinctively toward my matching wall, but of course, there was nothing there to see, just my secondhand couch, cinder block coffee table, and the rusty air vent on the wall above them. When I looked back, she was already walking back to her desk. She sat down and it looked like she put on earbuds, so I figured something must have been making a noise she didn't like. Pipes rattling, maybe? At this point, I guess I got curious and I watched a little longer, but I swear I was about to turn away again when suddenly, well, this is when things got weird. I saw her air vent cover just kind of pop off and fall on the floor. It must have hit with some kind of thud, but she obviously didn't hear it. Okay, this part might not make some sense, but I'm just going to tell you what I saw. Something sort of poured out of the vent, or someone? Damn, I'm gonna go with something. It kind of landed on the floor and then stood. And it was enormous. It was so thin, I could see its hips and ribs jutting out underneath that pale skin. I don't think it was wearing anything, but it had this lanky, pitch black hair that was so long, it was kinda hard to tell for sure. It might have been a woman, not too sure, but if it was, her arms was something serious, like seriously wrong there. They hung down past her knees and it seemed to just kind of petered out. No hands, just a sort of nub. I wish I had done something then, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand what was happening. This strange woman-like creature just started sauntering forward. I watched it stalk across the room, slowly closing in on my neighbor. Then she raised those strange arms and she opened her mouth. And it was like her whole head split open. She towered over the girl at the desk, all pointy teeth and pointy arms. And somewhere in there, I realized I was desperately banging on the glass, but I was too far away to make any difference. The girl didn't have a chance to scream. The creature struck, squeezing its inhumanly long arms around my neighbor, and her whole head just sort of disappeared into the creature. I saw her arms flailing, nails clawing at the arms around her for what seemed like ages. Then she just kinda went limp. At this point, I know I should have done something, anything, but I was just kind of frozen in place. My mind was reeling. I just kept thinking this couldn't be real. I don't know how long the thing just hunched over her like that, but the next thing I saw was the girl's body slumping forward, head hitting her desk, arms hanging loose, like some kind of ragdoll. The creature had risen back to its full height, and it turned away and started back across the apartment. Her gait was different this time, more casual. It wasn't stalking prey. I watched breathlessly as the creature paused in front of the air vent, and then it turned and looked out the window, right at me. I jumped behind the little section of wall that separates the windows, standing sideways, holding my breath, praying somehow it didn't see me. I didn't want to look, but I had to know what it was doing. I leaned forward, edging back in front of the window, peeking with one eye, but there was nothing there. The creature, or woman, or whatever it was, she was just gone. My heart was running a marathon, but there was nothing for me to do now. I found myself just kind of staring at the girl, slumped on her desk, for what I think was a long time. Then suddenly, She sat up. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more surreal. How was she not dead? She stirred and kinda gingerly sat back in her chair. She looked around like she was confused. Then I saw her staring at her screen for a minute and she just started typing again like nothing had happened. This is kinda crazy. Creepy men at a dollar store. I went to the dollar store near me within a block or so a couple days ago. I got what I needed and went to the stand in the checkout line. There were two men in front of me at the register. One was 60-ish, paying for their items, and the other built like a brick wall, around 40-ish. I glanced in their cart and noticed 4 gallons of bleach and a myriad of other cleaning supplies. I said something to the effect of, "Damn, who'd y'all kill?" Brick wall turns around, looks me dead in the eyes and says, "What?" At this point, anyone with a sense of self-preservation would have stayed quiet, not me. I repeated myself again. He then gave me this really creepy smirk, didn't respond, and turned around. They finished checking out and left. I checked out my items, and when I exited the store, I saw Brick Wall and his friend staring at me, then started pointing at me, and seemed to be seriously discussing me. I walked past their truck. As I did, they started it and left. Needless to say, I did not go straight home. Thoughts on what this might have been about. This happened when I was a teenager in the 90s. I remember it like it was yesterday. I had no idea what this could be and just thought I'd ask for opinions. I was home alone when there was a knock at the door. I was always supposed to ask, "Who is it?" before answering. I did. No answer. I asked a couple more times. Nothing. There was no peephole in the door, nor window near it, so I looked through the keyhole. It was kind of big, and you could see okay through it. I could see a man from his feet to his chest. His head was too high. He was wearing a black suit and a black winter coat. He knocked again. I asked who it was, and again, no answer. I watched him pull gloves out of his pockets and put them on. I ran upstairs to look out a window, and I saw him walk down the sidewalk. There was no car parked in front or anywhere that I could see. I went outside and didn't see him anywhere. He never came back. When I told my family, they didn't seem to care at all. To this day, it's still on my mind. Like, what was it most likely? Was it a potential robbery?